Well, it's exactly 11 minutes for 6 a.m. Apologies for the slight delay, but we are here all the same to ensure that your day kickstarts on a very good note. My name is Linda Alela, and it is time for Morning Cafe, the program that sets the pace for you, of course, updating you on what is happening on Matters News, as we found some more on candid discussions in regards to these particular issues, of course, on the current affairs segment. And later on, we also have some lifestyle segment, and today we're all about martial arts. Going to be an interesting session for you, starting right now all the way to 9 a.m. So ensure that you keep me company as I get to entertain you, educate you, and inform you. My name is Linda Alela once again. Let's kickstart by taking a look at the stories that we have prepared right now. And a polite reminder that I'll be taking you through the stories and the newspaper also alongside Lily Mwangi, who's actually the panel of the day or the guest of the day on this particular segment of newspaper review. So karibu sana. As always, it's a pleasure to have you joining us. And let's do this as, of course, we take a look at these particular stories. And it has started a clinical trials for a drug that might just be the cure for coronavirus. 10 patients at Aga Khan University Hospital are set to undergo the trial that uses a drug called Actemra. This is as the number of COVID-19 cases in the country rises to 14,168 after 397 more people tested positive as of yesterday.
Kenya is one of 2 African countries that have started clinical trials for a drug that might just be the cure for coronavirus. According to credible sources, 10 patients admitted at the Aga Khan Hospital are set to undergo a 3-month time trial that will utilize the use of a drug called Actemra. Actemra is used to inhibit interleukin-6 receptors to prevent pneumonia that has been a characteristic of patients infected with COVID-19. This, as the Ministry of Health says, the progress made in the search for a vaccine in first world countries is huge and promising in the fight against coronavirus.
That's promising because if a vaccine has proceeded to that stage, it means it has passed these other tests. I heard that there is a vaccine in the US that's now entering phase 3. We know that there is a vaccine in the UK that is also progressing well. So the entire world is looking to a successful vaccine that comes out in good time and that will be able to protect people from getting COVID-19.
Dr. Rashid, however, says, much like in the testing of COVID-19, there are limitations in third world countries to adopt many of the manufactured vaccines due to limitations in resources.
Just like we told you about our testing, limitations with testing, the limitations of getting the equipment and getting the reagents because of the global supply chain and the demands. And the preferences, you know, the more developed, richer worlds where these products are produced are the ones to benefit first. And we end up in the end of the queue.
The number of COVID-19 cases in the country rose to 14,168 after 397 more people tested positive for the virus in the last 24 hours.
Nairobi, 239 cases. Kiambu, 33. Machakos, 27. Nyeri, 17. Busia, 16. Nakuru, 12. Mombasa, 12. Kajiado, 10. Migori 8, Uasin Gishu 8, Kericho 5, Narok 3, Laikipia 3, Kisii, Kisumu, Lamu, and Nyandarua 1 each.
7 of the new COVID-19 survivors were on home-based care, whereas 55 were released from various hospitals across the country as 12 more people succumbed to the virus. For TV47, I'm Zainab Mohammed.
And to the stories related to COVID-19 or the cases of COVID-19 right in the country and across the globe, Oxford vaccine offers hope for taming a virus, as captured on page 9 of the People Daily. And 14,168 total cases that have been recorded so far, 397 as of yesterday. Lily, if you can hear me, good morning.
Can you hear me?
Lily?
Can you hear me? Good morning.
Lily, I'm afraid we're not able to hear you very well. But anyway, we'll be taking a look at that and come back to you later to expound some more. This is captured on, of course, the People Daily. Equally, on the front page of the Standard newspaper, there's an issue in regards to, of course, COVID-19 and how much we're dealing with it. And a big promise in COVID-19 vaccine hunt, as captured right here. I'd expounded some more on page 6 of the Standard newspaper, and whether indeed this is going to be a sigh of relief is a question of wait and see. Virus drug trials begin at Nairobi's Aga Khan Hospital. Oxford Varsity vaccine safe for use, experts say. And coronavirus tracker, how close are we to a vaccine, is a question that everyone is asking right now, and indeed crossing fingers that it all works well. Lily, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you so much for finding time. And we are taking a look at the numbers as of yesterday and also the possibilities of us getting a vaccine as a global fraternity. Should we cross fingers? Are we hopeful for this in regards to the reports that we are receiving? One from Oxford Vaccine, which offers hope for taming virus, and also the tests that are being conducted or are set to start today at Aga Khan Hospital in regards to us being able to achieve a vaccine or get a vaccine for COVID-19.
Okay, yeah, I think there's a ray of hope towards getting a vaccine for coronavirus.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a vaccine may not come as soon as we think it will, yeah, because a vaccine will have to take very many phases of clinical trials. Right now, they one clinical trials, they have to go up to phase 3 clinical trials for us to ascertain that it is safe and efficient, and also that it's able to combat the specific virus, the specific strain of the virus. So we are not very sure about the vaccine, but there is a ray of hope from very many countries are trying. Not only the UK, the US, and other countries are trying. So, of course, there's a ray of hope. But we should be looking, in my opinion, we should be looking at more short-term goals, because it means that if a vaccine is going to come, it's only going to come maybe next year or probably mid next year because of the production, because of the clinical trials you're talking about. So before next year, how are we going to be able to contain the virus between now and maybe mid next year?
And
that's what we should be.
And before we are able to get a hold of the vaccine, and the question on board is just how much, accessible will the vaccine, in the event that we are able to get it, be, especially to the vulnerable countries, of course, Africa for that matter. UK the other day ordering numerous, talking of 90 million doses of vaccines. It's a clear indication that in the event that we have it, then what is left of the people who are equally struggling and grappling for it, the likes of African countries for that matter?
Of course, there's going to be a global, what do you call it? There's going to, what do you call it? We're going to have a strain because of the resources are very few. And of course, if we're going to get that specific vaccine from Oxford, it means that there's global demand for the vaccine. Meaning that before countries like ours, get the vaccine, it might take a little bit of time because of the production and all that. But there's hope because, of course, if they come up with the vaccine, it's not only going to be produced at Oxford because so many other labs and so many other facilities or institutions have the capacity to produce it. But what we should be thinking right now is, what do we do with ourselves between now and maybe mid next year? Because the vaccine might or might not work. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
The strain of the virus might mutate between now and next year. So what are we going to do with this window period where we're not having a permanent solution per se, but we're having the vaccine, the virus here with us? So we should be thinking about maybe the short term. Also in the long term, we have labs, we have KEMRI, we have very many institutions offering medicine in this country. How do we boost their capacity so that they are also able to produce or to also come up once we have the vaccine? How do you now boost their capacity to be able to produce the vaccine at a local level?
All right, well, we can cross fingers for the best as, of course, we continue to ponder on the same. And let's proceed to the next story. More than 10 people have been critically injured following a stampede at the Likoni Channel yesterday evening. The incident occurred when one of the gates at the waiting bay were opened, and as passengers rushed to board the ferry, scores were injured in a stampede. And most of those injured were women during the incident that happened on the island side. In a statement, the Kenya Ferry Services MD Bakari Goa, however, did not speak about the incident, but said that at around 3:30 hours, MV Mkwale, while at mainland, a ramp hit MV Safari, gapping a hole on the side, which caused water ingress, flooding the engine room.
Wanawake ni wengi. Hapo kukawa kumefadhaika kabisa. Hatujui tuufanye nini. Hasa mimi Mwenyezi Mungu akanusuru. Nikashika ukuta hivi. Nikawaambia wenzangu wanne tusimameni hapa na tumswalie Mtume. Bila hivyo tutakufa sote. Basi inshallah Mwenyezi Mungu wale watu wakanisikiza. Tukasimama pale hatukupata madhara yoyote. Mpaka watu wote wakapungua. Kuja kupungua hivi ndio tunapata wenzetu wengi wamesambaratika chini, wameumia, wengine wametoka mapovu, wengine damu zinawatiririka. Nikaanza kuambia subra minallah. Tulieni hapa tulipo. Hivyo ndivyo ilivyokuwa, lakini kulikuwa na fujo sana.
Tulikuwa pale kwa kipanda. Sasa wale watu wakawa wengi. Wakaanza wakati walikuwa wengi, sasa wakawa wengi. Sasa wakati feri ilikuwa inakuja, watu wanaona nataka kubeba, ndio wakakuja kwa wengi. Sasa wakaraliana, sasa ile msukumano wakaanguka, hata mimi nikazuma nikaangia pande mbele. Hata nikaona giza hata sikuona nini.
Wewe umeumia wapi? Umeumia?
Mguu hapa nasikia kama mguu nimeumia.
Watu walikanyaga ama ilikuwaje?
Kanyagana.
Nilikuwa nimetoka kazini, nafika pale juu napata nimesimama vizuri. I was waiting for me to, nilikuwa nangoja nivuke hivi. Sasa penye nimesimama, badala wale watusaidie ndio wanatuumiza. One of the officers just beat me with that, no reason, slapped me. Ati nitoke mbele hapo, na mimi sina kosa yoyote. Sasa hizo nimebeba bagi yangu, kila kitu yako. Badala yende atusaidie, ananipiga makofi. Amenipiga makofi for no reason.
All right, that's not so much so extensively captured or in the newspaper, but something worth discussing. And Lily, coming to you, really, there's so much fear on, of course, the infrastructures across the country, and now this even worse, where, of course, hundreds and hundreds of Kenyans, hundreds and thousands of Kenyans use the ferry to cross from one point to the other, to Likoni, to this other side. So, I mean, the fact that there's not been assurance of safety at these, ferries and all that, brings chills or sends chills down the spines of many. And now such occurrences really get us to that point of remembering the likes of Mtongwe. I don't know whether you were there back then, years and years back. I think I was still too young when we could hear of how much, of course, the ferry had capsized, and, numerous of Kenyans had lost their lives out of this. I mean, and every other time you're going to that place to cross the ferry, there's some level of excitement, but so much so of fear of getting from point A to point B.
Yeah, I believe it's not been, and yes, we had the famous incident of the woman who, drowned into the ferry with her car. But I believe where we are at as a country right now, we need to already have had a sustainable solution to that ferry crossing towards that side, because we've been on the discussion for so long as a country on what we should do, and so far, we all can agree that the ferry cannot guarantee towards anyone. You don't know if you get on the ferry from this side, you're going to cross to the other side. But I feel this is an issue the government should be looking at very seriously, because as we continue to grow and as we continue to grow our economy as a country, it means that we are opening up the country into growth, and also we need the infrastructure all over the country so that anybody can be able to transact from point A to point B. You can be able to move your goods from point A to point B without having to worry about your safety or even the safety of your goods. So this is something I feel the government should be looking at a long-term solution. We have had, I don't know, ferries being bought and whatever, but this is not solving the main problem. Mm-hmm. So let us look to the safety of our people. Can we have something or a sustainable solution or a road that can cross towards the other side or a bridge, that can cross towards the other side so that we can minimize these accidents that always happen at the ferry.
Mm-hmm. All right, and speaking of which, yes, it is here captured on page 15 of the People Daily. 20 people injured in a stampede at Likoni Ferry and stalled after it collided with another vessel on the sides as it offloaded passengers on the mainland side. Different reactions coming in regards to that, but we can only hope that indeed there's going to be some bolster of operations and, just ensuring that also the ferry services ensure that management of the equipment is done, on a constant, of course, review for the safety of the people moving on. And that aside, personnel in Nyeri County are on high alert after 12 of their colleagues at a private hospital tested positive for COVID-19. Meanwhile, Kitui County recorded 2 cases of nurses who tested positive for COVID-19. Eli Lugova with the details.
The increasing number of COVID-19 cases in the country continues to exert pressure on an already overwhelmed healthcare system. Nyeri County has the latest cases of healthcare workers with 12 testing positive, whereas Kitui County recorded 2 positive cases. The medics from the facility located at the heart of Nyeri town are currently in isolation.
47 in this county. Out of those 47, about 11 wamepona. Hao wengine tuko nao katika isolation centers zetu. Wengine ni madaktari. 12 of them ni madaktari. Wameambukizwa na wagonjwa wawili waliokuwa hapo. Kwa hivyo kuna tatizo na ni vizuri tujue.
Meanwhile, the Kenya Medical Practitioners, Pharmacists and Dentists Union KMPDU has once again taken issue with the government's move to hire medics from Cuba despite the availability of locally trained doctors who are unemployed. The union now wants the government to hire 50 healthcare workers per county as one of the interventions in combating coronavirus. 20 Cuban doctors are already in the country after the government struck a deal to have them work for a period of at least 6 months.
We have seen 20 Cuban doctors who are said to be specialists being brought on board. The irony is that it has taken more than 4 months for the government to engage its own local doctors to combat COVID-19.
This comes as the country's disease burden continues to spike, surpassing the 14,000 mark and affecting the medical fraternity. One doctor, Doreen Lugaliki, and 2 other nurses have already succumbed to the illness, with more than 546 others infected in the country. Eli Logova, TV47, Nairobi.
And still on COVID-19, Governor Dr. James Nyoro has issued an ultimatum to all bars, restaurants and clubs selling alcohol to shut immediately. The governor has said that markets flouting COVID-19 containment measures will be closed. And this is in Kiambu County, as Mwangi Maina now reports.
Speaking at the Kiambu County COVID-19 Isolation Hospital in Tigoni, Kiambu Governor Dr. James Nyoro says eateries that were allowed to reopen have been turned into bars that operate even beyond curfew hours. Nyoro directing the establishments to close before coming Sunday.
And every bar today in Kiambu is operating as wines and spirit. We are saying, tafadhali, funga hiyo wines and spirit. If you don't funga between now and Sunday, tutakuja Jumatatu, tutaifunga, revoke your license, and never again in the life of Kiambu County shall you receive a license to operate anything related to bar and restaurants.
Nyoro attributes the sharp rise in COVID-19 infections in his county to the don't care attitude and flouting of containment measures by Kiambu residents. The governor has threatened to close markets by Friday if they will be found violating containment measures.
In the public health, we'll be revisiting markets, and I want to announce that we shall be closing markets. We'll be closing markets that are not abiding to the regulations that we had set. That may hurt business. Now the thing is, before we come to close next week, we would probably appeal to people so that they can start to observe the things that we've been talking about. We want to enhance and make sure that water is available, that sanitizers are available, but also the distance and putting on masks.
The governor spoke at the groundbreaking ceremony in Tigoni Hospital, where another isolation center will be constructed in 2 months.
The structure you're going to groundbreak will give us an additional 100 beds, and therefore we'll see that in Tigoni we have 330 beds which will be ready by the end of that project.
We try to do what we can. Our focus is on education, health, environment, and of course also in some cases where we do some emergency support. And very often we do that through the MRN Foundation, which supports us to execute on many of these things.
The facility will have a capacity of 104 beds and is being constructed in association with Mabati Rolling Mills.
Following the recklessness of Kenyans in adhering to measures put in place by the Ministry of Health to combat the spread of coronavirus, the government is forced to take punitive measures to ensure that these protocols are being observed. Mwangi Maina, TV 47.
Let's loop you in again, Lily, as we take a look still on the combination of issues on matters COVID-19. And one story captured here on the front page of the People Daily. Only 15 counties are ready for COVID-19. This is a draft fact-finding report that paints a grim picture of the situation in devolved units, as, of course, doctors warn that about 500 healthcare workers have been infected with the virus, as captured on page 4 and 5. And also later on, I know we'll be taking a look at that story where President Uhuru Kenyatta has called upon the intergovernmental units to come on board so that they can chart the way forward, and equally just a review on how far they have achieved this in terms of dealing with COVID-19 in the country. And this is set for Friday. Before Friday, I mean, what would you say about how far we've come in terms of dealing with COVID-19 at the level of the counties, Lini?
Pardon?
What would you say about how we have come, or how far we've come in terms of dealing with COVID-19 at the level of the counties?
Okay, I believe this is a pandemic that hit us. It was unprecedented.
Yeah.
Nobody really expected it happened in March. But here we are now, and we have to get prepared. We have to gear up as a country. So firstly, I'd like to say we have come a long way in terms of preparedness, in terms of equipping our health systems. But I believe we're still not yet there. Because as you read the report by the Governor Oparanya, it means that less than 5 counties have complied with the presidential directive so far, meaning that only about 15 counties are prepared to handle with the 300-bed capacity and all that. Putting in mind that the 300-bed capacity is not enough. It's not even enough for the counties. So meaning we have a long way to go. But I believe county governments really have to be on top of their game on this one, because this is a pandemic. This is not something that we are going to wait, I don't know until when, for us to get prepared. We've seen about 15 counties get the 300-bed capacity.
No.
Many other counties are yet to get to that. We've seen counties training, we've seen counties buying ventilators. But if you compare the target vis-a-vis what we have now, we're still very far from where we should be as a country. Meaning that governors need to gear up, they need to step up their game towards getting prepared. And what is the most saddening part is that most counties, or some of the counties, are getting prepared with the wrong things. Yeah, it's like starting to climb the tree from the top, or you see people buying body bags or such kind of things, meaning that you're going to prepare for death rather than prepare for the infections themselves. And you've seen the mortality rate in this country is not as high as it was in other countries, because we've only had around 200 and something deaths. But that does not mean that we should not get prepared. We've seen, okay, the bed capacity is there, the ventilators, we need the ventilators. Aside from that, we are not seeing human capacity being built up, which is very important. Mm-hmm. Like we just saw, over 500 health workers have been infected so far. These are our frontline warriors in this war, and we are fighting an invisible enemy. Let us remember that. Meaning that anybody coming into the clinic or anybody coming into the hospital is suspected or should be suspected of COVID-19, because we don't know who really has it or who doesn't have it. So meaning that we are exposing most of our health workers because of lack of PPEs or inadequate PPEs in some counties. And this means that our human capacity is also being overstretched as at now. Mm-hmm. Meaning that most of our frontline workers get infected, then we don't have people who are going to help us in our hospitals who we really need. Yeah. Also, if you look at the employment, we had the Waziri saying the other day that they're going to employ health workers, which we are yet employing health workers. And we need that capacity, at the human capacity at the hospital, meaning that we get to employ more health workers as we train the existing health workers so that we can have we can be adequately prepared for any eventuality that may happen.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, on that aside, let's pick this one. Senator Johnson Sakaja has been fined 15,000 shillings after he pleaded guilty of breaking COVID-19 rules before an open court in Kasarani, Nairobi. Sakaja was accused of flouting the curfew rules after he was found drinking with friends at 1 a.m. 4 hours past the 9 a.m. to 4 a.m. curfew imposed by the government to curb the spread of COVID-19 in the country.
It was an unprecedented moment when Nairobi Senator John Sakaja appeared before Chief Magistrate Roslyn Oganyo. The self-acclaimed super senator was ordered to pay just 15,000 shillings fine after being found guilty of breaching the night curfew. He was found drinking alcohol at a restaurant at 1 a.m. on Saturday. The blatant violation of the set regulations by the senator mirrors double standards by the politicians who are setting the standard too high in the name of stopping the spread of COVID-19. By the time of his arrest, the youthful politician was the chair of the Senate and HOC committee in charge of the fight against COVID-19.
The minimum sentence for the offense committed apparently is only Kenya shillings 20,000 or in default 6 months in prison. Being a first offender and in line with the sentencing policies in place, I will consider fining the Honorable Senator to pay a fine of 15,000 shillings, or in default he shall serve 3 months in prison.
The state prosecutor argued that the court should consider a harsh penalty against the senator in order to send a message to political leaders that the rules were not made for all the common citizens but are meant for all to obey at all times. However, the ruling has triggered questions over alleged selective application of the law. Many believe the fine was too lenient and the populace who look up to him could follow suit and be reckless in keeping the night curfew order.
That yesterday I had written to the Speaker about that committee, and I meant it. And I mean, it's something that will be seen, it's visible, it will be there on the floor of the House today. And we move on and we do what we were elected to do.
Critics cite the application of double standards in the enforcement of COVID-19 prevention regulations when it comes to politicians. In several instances, politicians have been seen holding political gatherings in full disregard of COVID-19 protocol and even under police protection. The same cannot be said about the common mwananchi. In one instance, a man was beaten by police to death after breaching the curfew to rush a pregnant woman in hospital on a motorbike. Hundreds others have been forced to quarantine facilities even without testing for COVID-19. For Sakaja and his ilk, a slap on the wrist is enough warning. At least he has learned his lesson after paying 15,000 shillings for it. The senator must have struggled to raise the near maximum fine for the offense. Well, it's a country of two laws. For TV47, I'm Nancy Kimuyu.
All right, that one captured on the Standard newspaper too. Sakaja pleads guilty, fined 15,000 for violating rule. This I don't want us to delve into much, but do you suppose that was so much lenient of fine, or it was okay?
First of all, I feel that politicians are really letting us down in the fight against coronavirus because the first or the people in the front line who are flaunting the same rules that were imposed by the Ministry of Health and also by the President, which makes many Kenyans feel or actually even believe that there is no COVID at all, because everybody is wondering, these are the same people who have the, who have the advantage of information or are privy to certain information, but they're the same people who are flaunting rules. Yeah. Several instances we have seen politicians, gather with more than 15 people as the required gatherings as at the Ministry of Health. We have also seen politicians not wear masks in public. We've seen them, flaunting rules. And just the other day, you can see Sakaja was caught past the 9 p.m. curfew, and ironically being the chair of the COVID-19 ad hoc committee in the Senate, meaning that these are the same people who are implying rules. And you've also had the notion of people saying that the rules really apply to the poor people, the Wanjiko, yeah? So meaning that these people are really letting us down in the fight against COVID, and they really need to step up their game.
As if that is not enough, Kasipul Member of Parliament Charles Ongondo was arrested, flouting equally just yesterday, flouting the rules again, holding rallies in Homa Bay. This is according to the police chief, that is Serunei. And, it is just unfortunate, and especially looking at the young leaders. I mean, do you suppose that you are a youth leader or you are a youth leader? I mean, what does it make you feel when you look at these young leaders that we look up to doing whatever it is that they are doing?
I feel that they are really letting us down as young people. They have sort of tarnished the youthful name into something that, everybody doesn't want to associate with, basically because of how we carry out ourselves once we get into the leadership positions at the national level, which is very unfortunate. And also leading from, or also looking at the, community response towards the youthfulness, and also how the youth are feeling as if they can't really are immune to this disease. This is also now adding charcoal into the heat. So I feel that young leaders, and specifically our politicians, need to lead from the front. This is not an enemy. This is an enemy that doesn't, know politics or no tribe or no social class. It is a respecter of no man, yeah? So these are people who really should be on the front line to protect our people against COVID. They're the people who should be really doing campaigns and educating the masses on how to protect themselves. But but contrary, they're just, holding rallies as if it is normal. And like what Mutaika keeps on saying, that if we treat this disease normally, it's going to treat us abnormally. Politics will come. Time will come for us to do politics, but right now it is time for us to combat a pandemic, which like we said earlier, is invisible. So we should be on the front line to try and protect our people, to try and advocate for our people to wear masks, to do all that. But now we cannot use the opposition or the politics of opposition and all that to flaunt rules, because our lives are also at stake here. So I really appeal to especially the young leaders to step up. But also what he did was commendable by, apologizing, because we've seen most of the times our leaders just feel feel as if they are above the law. But right now we are seeing the law catching up with them, which is a very good precedent that is being set. So if we're going to get people to take this seriously, we need our politicians to lead from the front, and we need serious or serious follow-up on the rules that we put up as a country or that are put up by the Ministry of Health to be followed by everyone, because as we all know that we are all equal in the eyes of this disease.
All right, and yes, I agree with that. And moving on to some more politics, the Wiper Party has resolved to hasten coalitions talks with the ruling Jubilee Party. So the party says that NASA coalition is dysfunctional. Let's take a look.
The National Executive Council of the Wiper Democratic Movement resolved to move with speed to move into a coalition agreement with the ruling Jubilee Party amid the emerging political realignments in the country. Wiper says the NASA coalition is no longer functional.
Even if we were to accept that legally we have the NASA coalition, which is registered with the Register of Political Parties, but clearly NASA has become dysfunctional.
The party is expected to convene a special National Delegates Conference soon to approve the NEC determination concerning the foreseen merger.
We cannot conclude a coalition agreement without calling for a delegates conference. And it will really spark, in my view, the correct political realignment to which I made reference during the last NEC meeting.
Meanwhile, the party is expected to approve the report of the Wiper Disciplinary Committee that recommended the kicking out of former Machakos County Senator Johnson Muthama from the party. The party says it will write to the Registrar of Political Parties concerning the decision.
We get the report and hear what they recommended, and that report itself, I think, is a matter of now communicating with the Registrar of Political Parties expeditiously and then deleting the name of a member from our register.
Nanok Lauren, TV 47.
And also after, of course, dropping Muthama, who apparently also dropped Wiper a long time ago, here we are with some bit of politics, the politics of the handshake, the politics of Jubilee, looping in other parties and forming, a larger coalition in what one would want to term, as party says that Raila-led coalition is dysfunctional and the only way forward is a union with the President Uhuru Kenyatta's ruling party. Probably this is something we all expected. It's nothing new in this particular case. So the Wiper party has formally walked out of the National Super Alliance, NASA. I don't know how this will be received, and we're expecting reactions from ANC. And I think the biggest person who's been against this is ANC party leader Musalia Mudavadi, who says that they have a memorandum, they have, and there's not a single point where we saw, of course, any of the parties deciding to step out of the NASA coalition, hence bringing the revenue share problem that was there in regards to who or what party should get what amount of money. And of course, ODM, gladly taking the entire chunk. So Secretary General Judith CJ said that the party's National Executive Council meeting held yesterday via Zoom resolved that Wiper engages a Jubilee Party in line with the emerging political realignments in the country. Here we are. The politics is ongoing, and Muthama says, I wish you the best in your endeavor and look forward to politically engaging you in 2022 when I shall face Wiper and other political parties with my party, God willing. To you. Lily, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting what is playing out in our political space right now, because we have seen these strangles not only in NASA, it was first in Jubilee, and now we're seeing them in NASA coalition. Yeah. And these are like main, the coalitions that are considered the main coalitions in the last general election, meaning that very many Kenyans got to support either of these coalitions, and very many Kenyans have hope in these coalitions. But as what has been seen in this country since time immemorial is that our political parties have only been just like vehicles to cross us into the next election. And then from there, it's like the political parties are dead. We haven't seen much of accountability in our political parties or much of, what they should really be doing in the 5-year span. Meaning that we've only been using them just for convenience. And it has come, and time is now coming where we really need to get serious on how we do our party politics in this country. We had so many cases arising from the nominations in 2017, meaning that so many people are really losing hope in the political party politics as it's playing out in our country. But all is not lost. I feel that just like NASA is now looking into walking out of NASA, Wiper is walking out from NASA and forming other coalitions. Of course, before now in 2022, there's going to be a lot of realignment in our party politics. But that aside, I feel that we really need to have a solid party ideologies that we really hold on to as a country, because we are moving on from where people were voting from tribal politics and all that, and we are now transiting into a new phase of dispensation, I say, where more young people and more millennials are looking towards issue-driven politics. Meaning that these politics of tribe, I don't know, we come from the same place, are slowly being phased out. Meaning that we need a new outfit in our political parties and new ideologies that people can really attribute to, or we can relate to in a certain political party. That being said, we also seeing a lot of monopoly in our political parties, where only the executive has a say in the political party. Because before WIPA steps out from NASA, how much consultation has been done to the members of the political parties? Have we a vote from the members, or also even from the National Executive, not only from the National Executive Committee, but also even from the grassroots? How much of that is being followed? How much of accountability? Because as I told you earlier, we are only using this like a vehicle where it is only convenient for me as a party leader to move from this place to this place. But what about the people that, believe in the ideologies of the WIPA political or any other political party? So we should be really thinking about how we change our party system or our party politics to be all inclusive, and also how we look into the parties being more sustainable. We are not only going to have a Jubilee or a NASA or an ODM because of a certain political phase, but this is something that can carry on generations after generation.
All right, well, that aside, some bit of more, which actually that has been captured on page 2 of the Standard newspaper. Kalonzo dumps Raila for Uhuru sparking MPs revolt in WIPA. And that aside, one of the biggest stories right here is captured: cabinet lockdown and strung by a surge in COVID-19 infections on the back of reports that at least 3 cabinet secretaries had contracted coronavirus. President Uhuru Kenyatta now bans nationwide tours by members of the cabinet, and Uhuru chairs crisis summit to review the containment measures on Friday. Of course, the total infections are standing at 14,168 as captured right there. And also on the People Daily, it's the cartoon edition, as of course there's that official lockdown or partial lockdown work from within Parliament, from all these ministries, from Harambee House and all that, from State House. The question is, just for how long? And as the virus continues to look and eyeing at these particular key areas in the country. And then you can see Wanjiku somewhere down there, complaining or, just hoping that I hope they are not going to introduce a lockdown allowance. That's an interesting cartoon edition right there. What do you make of this?
This is what, of course, Wanjiku has been feeling all along, not only in COVID times, but even before COVID came, that, our politicians are very self-centered and they only think about maybe the allowances and all that, which is a very valid feeling, by the way. But what we should be looking at is now looking into the politics of our country, and we are stepping into 2022. And these are the reactions of Wanjiku amidst a pandemic. So this is something that as a politician or any politician should be worried about, because how much it shows how much lack of trust we have between Wanjiku and the government, and Wanjiku and the politicians. But also looking at the lockdown, that also stems to what we have said earlier, because we are preaching water, but or we are preaching drinking wine but preaching water, meaning that our politicians, or maybe our cabinet secretaries, have been going through or going around the country, having launching or actually looking at projects that are being done or launching others, and we've seen a lot of social distancing being flaunted in such. We've seen a lot of lack of following of the directives, and now it is coming to catch up with them, seeing that we're even going into a cabinet lockdown, which is not very safe for a country, because this is our leadership that is going into a lockdown. So we don't really know, and this is just like the surge is just beginning for COVID. We don't know how next month or by 2 months down the line is going to surge. But looking even into the international politics, we saw the Prime Minister of UK contracting COVID. We have seen other very many global leaders contracting this disease, meaning, like, as we said, it is not a respecter of social class or any political class. It just can affect anyone, and anyone, like Motai Kalo keeps on saying, anyone can get it. So nobody is immune to the virus per se. So we should be looking at how are we implementing the rules ourselves, because we are very good as a country at, coming up with procedures and coming up with rules, but the implementation is something very different. So how are we implementing the rules? We saw just the other day State House go into lockdown, which is a very dangerous trend that we are following as a country because of working. Now, going to the other issue of allowances, I believe that our politicians should be really worried about or how the common mwananchi at the ground is looking at things, because it shows the disappointment from the Wanjiko towards our political class, and this should be a very worrying. This should bring a lot of worry to the politicians. So how do they change this perception that they only think about themselves and don't really think about the people who elected them in the grassroots?
All right, and speaking of which, of course, later on we get to expound some more on that, and we'll be taking a look at the key powerhouse women, or we say the powerhouse women, we'd call them, Anne Waiguru and Amina Mohammed, and how they are faring on in respective, of course, docketed areas, especially at this particular time when there's been a reprieve for that is Anne Waiguru in regards to the cases as captured right here. Waiguru's doubles victory in fight with MCAs, captured on page 8 as High Court bars Kirinyaga County Assembly from accessing the cash until a case challenging controversial budget estimates is heard. And that aside, also we're taking a look at CS Amina Mohammed's candidature to the World Trade Organization, and of course whether she stands a chance. But not before I let go. Before we go, of course, also we take a look at the Senate as, of course, reaches out to Raila to end revenue sharing a standoff. I wish we would have expounded some more on that in 1 minute or so. This standoff within the county. I mean, what do you make of it? And I'm crossing fingers that, of course, the lockdown does not hit the Senate before they get to address this. I hope it does not hit the Senate anyway, in a minute or so.
Yeah, I hope the lockdown doesn't hit the Senate before we get rid of this. I feel that this revenue, or the revenue allocation of the sharing of the revenues, is a very important topic in this country that is long overdue. And what we are seeing is a stalemate between how do we share revenue and between, okay, maybe the population at a certain area, and also maybe the distance or the area covered in a certain area. So what is happening is that most of the areas that are set, or most of the counties that are set to lose the revenue are mostly affiliated to ODM, or that is Raila's side.
Yeah.
So this is why we are seeing this tussle between how do they get, and of course the handshake politics playing in and all that. But that aside, I believe it is time we had that discussion as a country, and it's a very important discussion on how we share revenue. For a very long time, very many counties have been considered marginalized, while others are actually feeling, more marginalized because of the numbers that they have.
Yeah.
But this is a tussle that needs not only to be solved, because our Senate has time and time again proven to be very politically alienated.
Right.
So we might get to a solution, or we may get to a conclusion that is very politically inclined. But this is a topic that needs us to sit down as a country and think about how do we really get to share our revenue, either between the people or the distance, or the area covered within a certain.
Okay.
So this is a topic, and we hope that tomorrow they come into a conclusion, because the more they delay, the more we have delays at the county, meaning that the service delivery at the county is going to be affected, and we are in a pandemic. So this is not something that we should be doing. We should be thinking about right now. But my personal stand would
let's wind up. As we wind up, please.
Let us look at population rather than looking at the distance covered, because if you look at very many, like for instance, Nairobi has a very huge population base, meaning that the services cannot be compared to any other county that is elsewhere. So also politics of 2022 is going to play in, because senators who come from those areas that are going to have the resources reallocated are feeling that is going to be used against them by the people they are against in 2022. So a lot of politics.
Thank you.
Play. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Lily Mwangi, for the great insights. And on that very note, we lock this particular session as we cross over to a different one all together to discuss the current affairs. Keep dropping your SMSs, keep calling us, and of course, keep sending those messages on our social media pages at Linda_Lela TV47. We get to sample some of your comments as we proceed after this break. right, welcome back to Morning Cafe. So much of feedback still trickling in. We'll be sampling that as we proceed with the show. But importantly, we now cross over to the current affairs segment. We expound some more some of the issues that we've touched on the newspaper review, and equally some more that we have not touched on. So welcome on board once again. And joining me this morning is Michael Agwanda, who's a political analyst, and Anita Mbai, who's equally a political analyst. So Anita is with me here in studio. Yes, we've ensured that we've maintained the social distance aspect, so we are okay, right, Anita? Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, Mike Agwanda joins us live via Skype so that we can expound some more on these. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
You're well, Mike?
I'm very well. Nice to see you.
Thank you so much for finding time.
Yeah.
So yes, of course, we cross over to the current affairs, and we start off with the aspect of Kirinyaga. I think before I went for a break, I touched on the key people or key figures that we'll be talking about, the ladies on a board. We always talk about empowerment of the ladies and, ensuring that we push them to the leadership positions. But even as we push them there, they still, some of them that are mad or alleged to be involving in matters, corruption, issues that are not so good. To some point, this has gotten people questioning whether indeed we need to pull this affirmative action so that we encourage our ladies to take the leadership positions, especially the women rep, seat or position has been questioned for the longest of time. People arguing that maybe there's no point of us having the women rep, position. But the question is just how much are the women themselves doing towards proving themselves, towards proving to the world that indeed there is need to have women leadership. There is need to embrace women leadership. So, of course, let's expound some more on what has been taking center stage in Kirinyaga County. A brief for Anne Waiguru. And, of course, we can pick that particular story if we have it, Mr. Director, so then we can come to expound some more on the same. On Kirinyaga. All right, so as we take a look, as we wait for that, let's come to you, Anita. And here we are. Are we ready? All right, let's listen into that and then come back and expound some more.
Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru appearing before the Senate Committee on Devolution under the leadership of Moses Kajwang via Zoom together with the Office of the Control of Budget has said there is a dire need to resolve the standoff in the county for better service delivery.
We have critical services to provide such as healthcare. We have no oxygen. We have no medicine in hospitals right now. We don't have any supplies, and we need also to pay salaries. So it's very critical that this matter is resolved soonest possible.
The Control of Budget, Dr. Margaret Nyakango, in her contribution said the County Assembly of Kirinyaga failed to comply with issues highlighted by her office.
When we did our analysis, and that was way before these things started happening, we highlighted certain issues which we communicated to the county. And apparently, the same issues were then picked by the assembly, but I dare say they were then misused to make certain changes.
After the High Court temporarily ordering the County Assembly not to authorize withdrawal of monies from the County Revenue Fund, Dr. Nyakango said it will be complicated for the county to get 50% of its expenditure budget to continue giving service to the citizens.
However, with an injunction in place, Chairman, I wish to inform you that the matter gets a little complicated because the only way the county will get the vote on account is through a court order.
To resolve the county standoff, the Senate Committee on Devolution will meet Kirinyaga County Assembly representative on Wednesday. Joash Onsare, TV47, Nairobi.
Coming to you, Michael Agwanda, this was bound to happen, so to speak, that, Anne Waiguru will find it so hard to govern Kirinyaga as it stands. And, at some point in time, they said, in as much as the Senate will save you, there will be need for you to go out there and speak to your MCAs and try and talk to them and tell them that, what's important is the development of Kirinyaga. But it looks like the MCAs are not willing to discuss this. They're not willing to have this conversation. And clearly, they're focused on making it rough for Anne Waiguru.
Leader, Anne Waiguru is one lucky human being.
Yeah.
And I really thank God for her that she's been able to ascend to that position.
Yeah.
But what we are being told is Anne Waiguru is not recognizing or appreciating the work of our MCAs or members of county assemblies. You cannot possibly run county assembly or the county like your own home or domestic home. You must be able to work with members of county assembly because there are rules and laws put together to have the county assembly do what they're supposed to do and to have the executive also do what they're supposed to do. Anne Waiguru is leading the executive section of the county, but that cannot do well if you do not work hand in hand with the county assembly and have great respect for them. As such, she's having great mistrust from the county assembly. And what they're saying is she has no respect for them. It is not possible to run a county without respecting the county members of, members of assembly and the MCAs for that reason. If she thinks she can bypass the MCAs and do things as she wish, it is not going to be easy for her. The Senate might have given her just a little opportunity to breathe. But if she does not recognize that these people are also elected, the MCAs in Kirinyaga are also elected by the people, then what Anne Waiguru is literally saying is, I don't want to run this county. I want to go and run my own house. Because if you want to run the county assembly, the county, you must be able to work with the assembly. Well, let me tell you, there are 3 or 4 responsibilities of the county assembly. 1 is oversight. 2 is legislation. And 3 is also to ensure that they pass laws that governs the county. But most importantly is they must also be able to pass every decision that is made by the executive in the assembly. If that is not done, then you will be reading from different script, and the sufferer in this case are the people of Kirinyaga, and not even Anne Waiguru, not even those MCAs. Let me give it another perspective. If the MCAs are not seen to be doing anything, they will go home. And therefore, I think they put their foot down on the ground and they're saying, Anne Waiguru, you're not going to send us home by your mistakes, by the things you're not doing in this county. And for that reason, we want to make noise and let our electorates know that you are the one that is causing us not to do our job. And I tell you, the people will buy it because they've stood their grounds and they're saying, Anne Waiguru must go.
So if the people buy into this, Michael Ogwanda, and the MCAs equally come out to prove that this is a thing. She was vindicated by a Senate, at least, that body that would have been the determinant factor of her survival or not. And, being vindicated, we can, the MCAs are left with no choice but to work with her in as much as they keep pushing for, the world to get to realize that probably she's done some mistakes here and there. Isn't this then an undoing to the common Mwananchi, to the people of Kirinyaga? Because if they cannot work together, or if she cannot work together with the MCAs, then it means the people are the ones who are going to suffer. At this point, wouldn't it have been wise for maybe the MCAs to take a cake here and you swallow this, even as they do it, amicably, but focus much first on addressing the issues of the people of Kirinyaga, because the politic, and at the end of the day, this one derails the activities of the county. Looking at this stalemate of the budget that we're talking about right now, this is budget, this is money that is supposed to be out there working for the people of Kirinyaga. Anita.
Absolutely. Linda, the MCAs are doing the right thing in that they're exercising their duty in terms of articulating the policies.
Yes.
And when you look at Kirinyaga, it's very important that they sort of find a middle ground whereby they can be able to work and deliver on the people of Kirinyaga.
Right.
Because when there's a lot of stalemate, the common Mwananchi tends to suffer. So the best thing for Kirinyaga would be to find a common platform whereby they can absolutely try to iron out their grievances so that we can have the common wananchi.
According to them, the only way their grievances are going to be ironed out is if Waiguru is out of the seat, a majority of them for that particular matter. So what does it speak, one, about the leadership of women, and two, just how much, of course, the people of Kirinyaga should have on the current government or the current county government that is there?
First of all, when it comes to women leadership, Linda, I think women have come a long way. And when we look at, of course, Governor Waiguru and many other women leaders, they've really tried the best they can, but then you realize sometimes women are really sabotaged. Because trust me, Linda, if it was a man in the same situation, there would be a little bit
of leniency.
Yes, there would be a little bit lenient on how things are handled. So I feel like yes, there are problems in Kirinyaga, but then at the same time, it's also good to appreciate how far women have come and also try to support the current women leaders. Because when I also look at Kitui, you also had Ngilu facing the same issues. Yeah. Yes, we are not saying that the issues are not there; they are, Linda, but it looks like women are under attack, if I can say. Right. So it's important for us to recognize the far the women leadership has come, but then at the same time we also have an opportunity to improve on that. Yes.
All right. So what are the likelihoods then that the Senate is going to solve this stalemate? As it stands, anyway, Senate has an issue of solving the revenue bill or the revenue sharing aspect of it of the different counties. So what is the guarantee then that they're going to fix this one over different counties and even address this one at the level of Kirinyaga County? Michael Agwanda.
One thing is, I have to say that indeed Anita has said that women are under attack. I totally disagree with that. I don't think women are under attack in this case. If you look at the issues that are being raised by Kirinyaga and Kitui, they are issues, the fundamental issues that need to be addressed by the county, and that specifically in Kirinyaga. The county assembly are saying very clearly that Anne Waiguru is not consulting them. Anne Waiguru does not respect them. Now that in itself is a serious matter that needs to be looked into. If the governor is being alleged to have no respect for the county assembly, you cannot in turn say that the women are under attack. That to me is the cheapest way of looking at matters in regards to women leadership. We know that women, Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister of United Kingdom, and she worked terribly well. And many other women leaders are there in the world. I don't think, therefore, we can say that it's only African women that are under attack. We know that African women are heading international organizations, including UN, organizations, and for that reason, and they've worked terribly well with the people that are under them. I really think that when it comes to politics, it is about give and take. And in this case specifically, when we're talking about the Senate, I think that having the Senate rule that indeed the accusation against Anne Waiguru did not meet the threshold for her to be impeached is literally saying, go back and work with the people you don't like, but find a way on how you want to work with them. That's what the Senate is saying. Now the question is Anne Waiguru able to calm down and recognize that indeed there are leadership that I must work with in the county assembly? If she does not recognize that, she will not see it well. She will not see the light of the day. There is also a huge assumption that Anne Waiguru is being protected from the central government by people who are very powerfully behind her, and of course with the BBI. That to me I find as a lame excuse. The whole thing is the assembly is saying that we need to have a discussion with this lady called Anne Waiguru, who is our governor, for the benefit of our county. But Anne Waiguru is not stretching her hand further and saying, can we build a truce here? If anything, she's keeping on to blame. You remember when she was in the Senate, she was actually blaming some underhand dealing. Some people would not like her for that reason. No, I don't think the county assembly cares so much about that. They care about being organized, and they care about sitting around the table in the interest of the...
So does she stand a chance of convincing them otherwise?
Correct. Correct. If she had called a meeting soon after that and said, ladies and gentlemen, let's agree on these matters, and I want to sit with you around the table so that we can have a situation where we can develop our county. She's not done that. It's not in record that she has actually called these people and said that I want us to air these views out and see where the problem is so that we can work way forward. I mean, she's really difficult for that reason. And in this case, I will go by the county assembly, regardless of whether she says there are underhand dealings and there's political machinations of this and whether there's political interference. I think she's not done what she's supposed to do. Let her call the county assembly and say, can we have tea together, ladies and gentlemen? Can we agree on this budget in the interest of our people? But if you stick to your gun as if that money is yours and say, this is what I presented to the county assembly, they have nothing. They have absolutely nothing. In fact, one of the things that they're saying is Anne Waiguru has put a lot of money, millions, for her lawyers in the budget. And they're saying, this is not necessary. We need this money in the budget for that reason. Now, those are legitimate questions that you can actually, the executive can sit down with the county assembly and say, how do we now mitigate on this matter and say, well, we had set this amount of money for lawyers or for attorneys, but how about if we find a middle ground? On these matters that you're raising, that I'm not listening to you, what are some of the main issues that you want us to address so that we can discuss? I believe politics is about give and take. If Anne Waiguru is not ready for give and take, she'll find herself, in fact, they've gone to court, the Kirinyaga County Assembly have gone to court, and she'll also find herself being impeached again. And it might not go far, but that sore relationship is going to really hurt the people of Kirinyaga. Let me tell you, already COVID-19 is hurting every corner of this country. Now, if you add it again to a non-functional county, what's going to happen? We have no time. Come next year, Linda Alela, I promise you, there will be no development. There will be politics, and these politicians will be looking into how do I get elected now. Time is now. If she cannot reach out to these people, then it will be very difficult for her to even be re-elected if she wants to be the next governor again.
And as we drop this particular case, maybe we'll come back to you, Anita, and the question then would be, how much of a lesson can our governors or the rest of the governors, because the talk of impeachment has been rife across different counties, so how much of a lesson and how quick can they pick from the scenario in Kirinyaga so at least they're able to solve it themselves? Maybe Ngilu should see something, read something, probably try and have a conversation with the MCAs when, as early as now, and the rest of the governors that have been, mentioned as, possible, of course, figures for impeachment.
I think for them, first of all, it's very important to look at the issues that are being aired and issues that would make them, issues that are affecting the people and try to probably rectify on them. And also trying to, of course, patch up on the issues, especially to do with, of course, revenue, corruption issues that are happening in the county. I think looking towards that can be...
That can be a good thing. Yes. All right, on that particular point, let's cross over to the next subject of discussion. And this is in regards to COVID-19, now that Michael Ogwenda has mentioned it. And I think we need to constantly remind ourselves that, COVID is here with us. And the ravages are going to be way beyond what we can manage in the event that we do not look at how we can salvage this at an early stage. So South Africa, has suffered a super surge of COVID-19 and, recorded thousands and thousands of COVID-19 cases in a single day. This, of course, is something that, instills fear in many of us and gets us asking ourselves, just as, we've always said that, let's push the government towards easing some restrictions that have been put on board. It looks like, easing the restrictions is just not the ultimate solution to addressing the issues that we'd be facing. And now I come to you, Michael Ogwenda. The cases in South Africa, do you suppose they should serve as a lesson to the rest of Africa? And maybe, or the rest of the continent, and maybe we should just have our leaders rethinking what it is that they're doing in terms of strategies of, first of all, easing the restrictions and, easing the lockdowns, and most importantly, dealing with COVID-19.
Linda, indeed, the numbers are high in South Africa. I think I was reading that of all African statistics on COVID-19, South Africa has more than 50% of all the cases in Africa. That shows you that it's a huge number. The question is, did South African government do the right thing to avoid the contraction of COVID-19 to its citizens? I think they did. Another question, the fundamental question that people are asking is this going to be a replica in other African countries? I think yes. We will have high numbers.
Let me interject a bit, and the argument on ground, and these arguments of the Africans, that is the black people, and also the whites, the fact that maybe the whites are more affected or are likely to be affected more with COVID-19 is still coming up, and the argument is that yes, we're witnessing this in Africa. We're talking about bearing the 5th largest COVID-19 case, of course, in the global fraternity. And there are 5,000 or 5,000 plus deaths registered so far. So the argument is that it's because South Africa has very many, white South Africans for that matter. Could it be the case? Or we're just trying to, play a blind look on this one that is going to cost us huge?
There are many reasons why Africa, and of course black African countries, have been having low numbers. One of them is, in fact, not just low numbers, but even low death cases here. And one of the reasons is that we have a very young continent. Majority of our citizens in Africa are younger population. When you look at the European countries, most of the population are actually older population. For example, Kenya, about 65% of Kenyans are regarded as the youth. While when you go to the United States and other countries in the US, you find about 50 to 65% are actually of older generation for that reason. And so their cases were actually propelled as a result of the advanced age, but also we are looking at also other environmental issues. We have a very warm continent in Africa. And in the West, it's pretty cold for that reason. I think WHO has told us that in colder areas, we've seen more of these cases in colder areas. We've also had issues, a discussion over our immunization, that BCG immunizations have also sort of prevented us a little bit from getting this. But at the end of the day, when you look at the latest revelation about COVID-19, and they're now saying that it's actually the air, then you're left to wonder, is there anybody else who is not going to catch COVID-19 if it's actually in the air, and it can stay in the air for 8 hours, as the latest revelation from WHO. And that to me means that COVID-19 is going to be here with us, and it's going to be a thing that we will treat just like malaria in this country, where basically if you're sick, go to the hospital, get tested, and get treated. The only thing that perhaps the whole world is waiting for is where do we get the vaccines. Once the vaccine comes about and there is medicine for it, I guarantee you that all that will be required by governments and nations is that we will require that every dispensary and every hospital and every clinic should have a testing equipment for COVID-19, so that you walk in there and then you test it for COVID-19 just like malaria. And once you're tested, you can be told, go and buy the drugs across the street and treat yourself.
Let me come in a bit on this one and loop in Anita. You have mentioned that, yes, COVID-19 is going to be here with us. And I think that has been the talk for the longest of time right now. So this, in a way, that's acknowledgement that, yes, COVID is here and it's going to be with us, has gotten most governments into that point where they argue, okay, well, if COVID is going to be here, then I'm afraid we cannot keep locking down our activities as we await to see whether we're going to tame COVID. So the best thing to do is probably, just let down our guard. And such has been the occurrence in most African countries and across the world also. We've seen governments deciding to ease restrictions at some point in time. And they're easing restrictions at the point where, the numbers are surging up, on an alarming rate. So what does it speak? What does it tell us? Should we get scared? Should we have governments rethinking this move of easing restrictions?
I think, Linda, when you talk about easing restrictions, that's also a very good move, because again, when you look at the African countries, we also have struggling economies.
Yes. So
if COVID-19 is going to be here with us, then it's best for government to establish a delicate balance on how they could still open, but then at the same time protect their populations. Because Linda, you see, like when we had when the lockdown was on, there's a lot of job loss, there's a lot of desperation among our youth, especially who are very jobless. So I think if government could find a delicate way of balancing on how they could, of course, keep the population safe, but at the same time keep the economy a little bit open, that allows us to be a little bit afloat. Because again, when we remain close, that leads to a lot of suffering.
Reopening of flights, or is just having our flights resuming. One person then asked me, is it a polite way of the government giving COVID-19 a ticket to traverse the different parts of the country? I don't think so, Linda. First of all, we need the flights in, of course, to keep the tourism industry afloat, because this again also creates a lot of jobs. We of course been asked to take personal responsibility, and I think that's what people should uphold. So keep washing your hands, of course, maintain good hygiene, do the social distancing, and I think either way we're going to, of course, strike a balance on how we could manage this. But total lockdown is a no way go. It's really catastrophic for us as a nation. You're well conversant with the matters of global economy of Mike Agwanda, coming to you and looking at how much, of course, governments have decided to ease, restrictions at a point in time. And we've seen also, aside, and we've seen, a reoccurrence of, the COVID-19 cases in this respective government to a point whereby they've decided again to go back to lockdown, or go back to that point where they again uphold these restrictions. One, it is almost impossible for the citizens to just abide by the basic regulations that have been put on board. So when you look at such a scenario, do you agree that maybe this was the best move that was taken by the government, or different governments have taken, in terms of easing restrictions just so they would salvage the economies?
I think for now, Linda, what we need to be talking about is how do we ensure that case fatality ratio is minimized. How do we ensure that the number of people that are going to die from COVID-19 will be fewer than expected? That should be the fundamental question that the government need to be asking for. And if they can't find an answer for that, then they need to know that many will die. That's one. Secondly, I think the lockdown was hugely important. But the lockdown is only hugely important at the beginning. Once you open it up and people interact, and I can tell you for free, when the country opened up, people went to every corner of this place because Kenyans are a traveling nation. We are always visiting our parents and relatives within the communities. But besides that, Kenyans have different homes. 2-3 homes. Some of them have homes in Mombasa, some of them have homes in the village, and they also do farming in different places. And remember that we have a society where if you're not there, your properties will not be well taken care of. So business people have to move from one place to the other. And so when we are having a huge concentration here in Nairobi, and then suddenly people move all over the country, and I've been on this road since the country opened, people have been moving literally, and the roads are busy. That simply means that people have actually spread this disease beyond any imagination, and it will make no logical sense to lock down the country again. If you lock down the country again, what you're simply doing is you're saying, indeed, we know that every county now has huge numbers for this thing, but because the testings are not being done, we will just want to assume that by locking it, we will be saving you from traveling from one place to the other. Let me give you an example where we are having a problem now. Kisumu, our CDC is not able to test COVID-19 now, while in the beginning, they were testing COVID-19. Now they have to bring samples to Nairobi. And if they bring samples to Nairobi, it's no longer the 24-hour turnaround. It is now maybe 42 to maybe 72 hours turnaround, and sometimes even 1 week. We have problems with reagents in this country. They're not having enough reagents. We have problems with actually even the medical officers having the PPE equipment to ensure that they test for COVID-19. Now, if we're talking about Kisumu CDC that was covering the whole of Western Kenya not being able to test COVID-19, what are you trying to tell people? That the only test you can do is in Nairobi, in our influential lab, as well as the private hospitals and clinics, like the private hospitals like Nairobi also. It's not possible to have a pandemic being tested in one or two places in the entire country. So the government need to rethink about the testing positions, the testing stations, and possibly spread this as much as they can so that people are tested very quickly and then the containment is done very quickly. But if you do not have enough testing places and you say, we want to lock up the country, and then you will have people wait for about 1 to 2 weeks to get their results, you're cheating this camp, you're cheating our nation, and you're cheating the nation that you'll be fighting COVID-19 while you're not fighting it. If you don't have the numbers and the figures, you will not be fighting it because the numbers are much bigger. And remember, now you cannot walk into those testing centers and get tested because they will not allow walk-in unless you be referred by a medical doctor. While people want to know their status as much as they can so that they can go home or go to other places knowing that they are COVID-19 free. But if that cannot happen because you can't be tested on a walk-in, then what are you trying to tell the nation? I do not support the argument that we need to lock the country again. Anita has said it very clearly that if you lock the country again, can you imagine a situation basically where even the stimulus package that came in, the COVID-19 money that came in, the people who got it and the people who didn't get it, you don't know. But how many people will lose their jobs that are actually going back to work, and then suddenly again they have to lose their job? Landlords are not going to allow you in their houses if you don't pay because they've allowed you for 3-4 months. They were expecting that if you did have a job, you should have gone home. And then you come back again for 1 month and then the country is locked again. That doesn't make sense.
Well, all right. Well, that's an interesting way of looking at things. But also, now that we're talking about South Africa, and there's been numerous of meetings, virtual meetings held by the leaders of Africa in trying to chart the way forward of a continental approach to this. Do you suppose they've done well? And asking that brings me to the aspect of Tanzania on how Tanzania is dealing with this. And I don't know. I just don't know. No surge or no cases reported, no anything. Is it because they're not testing, or in real sense there's more than meets their eye?
First of all, when you look at Tanzania, there's been a lot of apathy in that President Magufuli does not acknowledge if there's existence of COVID-19 in the first place. And I think that is very catastrophic because as leaders, when we don't, of course, try to, of course, protect our populations, that is very unfortunate. So Tanzania has also recorded very low cases of COVID-19 because again, there's little or no testing. So I think that has really been unfortunate on the part of Tanzania. And I can really laud Kenya because of the efforts that we, of course, taken. The Ministry of Health has been very, of course, upfront with the COVID-19 situation. And I think Kenya, we are at a good place.
Africa's approach, we saw what the European Union was doing the other day, locking themselves in for days to chart the way forward to ensure that they come up with a strategy for economic recovery after COVID-19 or post-COVID-19. I mean, is Africa's approach just as good? Is there anything that we can bank on in how Africa deals and handles its issues?
Absolutely. I feel like the Africa's handling of COVID-19 has been a little bit, out of place. We've not seen so much cooperation. And when you look at European Union, they of course suffered more cases, but I really commend their style, and I hope that Africa we'd really chart a way of probably solving the solution, especially towards the economic recovery.
All right, and that we drop and we cross over to a different subject altogether. Sports CS, that is Amina Mohamed, and who's the candidate of the World Trade Organization, that is Kenya's candidate, Topos, said that she is seeking Washington's backing and expressed some sympathy with its criticism of the global body as she emerges as one of the two reform-minded African female front runners. Now, Amina Mohamed said that a closed-door vetting session last week went really well, and she outlined her platform to steer the body out of crisis from global trade tensions and rising protectionism, and of course to COVID included dive in business. So we take a look at this, and we listen into what, of course, Amina says, and whether she stands a chance, and whether indeed as a country we stand a chance, and what it would mean for us. Let's first of all pick this story and then come back to expand some more on the same.
It's a quest that Sport CS Amina Mohamed is determined to fulfill. Delegates say Mohamed, a 50-year-old minister and former WTO chair, is one of the favorites alongside Nigeria's Ngozi Okonjo to replace Brazil's Roberto Azevedo as Director General, although weeks of campaigning lie ahead. The WTO has never been led by a woman or an African.
I think for me, getting the AB back on its feet would be a priority, because we need, a multilateral system that everybody has confidence in and that everybody would like to use. We've used it before. All the, the big players have used it before very successfully. So we need to go back to that space.
The United States has paralyzed the appellate body by blocking new judges. In an apparent nod to Washington, she referred to the concerns about the body's overreach.
I think the concerns that have been raised, they would not have been raised if they did not have solid reason to raise them, and they should be. And there's, I think, evidence that has been provided, and I think it's important that we address that.
The U.S. mission did not immediately respond to a request for a comment. Her supporters, including her current boss, President Uhuru Kenyatta, say she combines deep WTO knowledge with a drive to overhaul its 25-year-old rules. However, she must win over those African countries who have expressed support for Okonjo Iweala.
So the difference, I think, between me and them is that I have worked this system. I have worked it fully, and not just as a delegate, but as a chair of the different bodies. I have delivered as an ambassador in Geneva. I delivered an amendment to a major, treaty, and I delivered a decent package in Nairobi. I don't think any of them can claim that. They can't claim that, and that's why I believe that I can hit the ground running.
Over the past week, countries have been hosting Geneva cocktail parties to showcase candidates. The WTO eliminates them in batches, starting with those unlikely to win consensus from 164 members. For TV47, my name is Tracy Mukami.
Amina, I just called you Amina. Anita, you come in first on this one. First, before we even take a look at Amina Mohamed, if at all she gets this, she'll be the first woman, first of all, to hold this important office, and probably the first African. What are the chances and prospects for Africa now that we have Nigeria, we have her there?
Absolutely, Linda. I think this is really interesting year for Kenya despite of the pandemic, because again, we had Kenya secure the Security Council for the 2021. You've also had other Kenyans like Seda Ogada, who of course was appointed the secretary to IMF. Yeah. And when it comes to Amina in the WTO, there's a high chance that she's of course going to secure this. She's got an excellent background serving as a diplomat, and of course also previously serving as at the WTO. And of course, Amina, of course, represents everything gone right, you know, in women leadership. I'm really confident that she's going to, of course, secure this position. And of course, it's also good that it's also going to put Africa on the map as, of course, the first woman to lead WTO, and of course, the first African. So this is really good. I'm of course very confident of Amina, and she's definitely going to get this. Although of course you also have, of course, Dr. Iwala of Nigeria, who is also a very strong competitor.
Also very strong, I agree.
So these are immense strides in women leadership, and we celebrate, of course, Amina.
Yes, that's much. We celebrate her. And, you know, looking in Micah Gwanda, this is not the first time that she's going for this. What will set her apart? What will make her, you know, stand out this time around, you know, differently in comparison to what happened the other time? Or what is it that she did not do last time that probably should carry on this time around for her to stand a chance, even as she pulls the campaign in Geneva?
Linda. And another question that everybody is asking is, why do we always want Amina Mohamed to be out of this country?
And not, not anybody else. All right. Reminds us of the AU championship, yes.
That's an light note. What I want to say, Linda, is indeed, when you look at Amina Mohamed, in my time, of course, one of the best foreign affairs ministers we ever had was called the late Dr. Roberto Uko, and he was famed for international accolade and international mobilization. Second to him, in my view, in my lifetime, is Amina Mohamed. During the tenure of Amina Mohamed, there were many conferences in this country than any other time in history of the world. That's the time we had almost all the presidents of who is who in the world visit this country, including President Obama himself, and many other presidents who came over here during her tenure. I mean, she has an excellent diplomatic career that you can take anywhere and it will be appreciated. But again, when you look at now what is at hand, and that is World Trade Organization, there are a lot of things that might work against her, and I'll love her very much, but there are a lot of things that might work against her. One of those very things is, one, she competed for the position of AU and she did not get it. The reason why she did not get it is because the countries around us were not mobilized well enough to vote for us. It's just seen what has happened at the Security Council, where the countries around us did not vote for us. They didn't even, and that tells you that they don't like us. If they didn't like us to be at the Security Council, in fact, if it were not for the superpowers, we would not have been there. But the countries, our neighbors that we interact with every day, that we depend on and depends on us in terms of our business and trade, did not vote for us for that reason. And so if that is to carry the day, then there could be a very high possibility that they're not going to vote for us again. When you look at also World Trade Organization, we have Dr. Mukisa Kitui, who is holding a huge position there. And the other African nations are already saying, look, why do we have two powerful people coming from the same country working for World Trade Organization? And so, you know, the other nations are starting to feel that maybe perhaps Kenyans are trying to get very greedy. But I don't think we are greedy. I think there's an opportunity that is out there, and we are sending our best to check this position, because those individuals, even Dr. Mukisa Kitui is one of the best brains you'll have in Africa, and he's rightfully holding that position. Amina Mohamed will rightfully hold that position because of her credentials and her ability to perform well. And also, as Zedab said, we found ourselves in the Security Council. We found ourselves at the IMF now at a top, position. And Kenyans are in all these global organizations. We seem to find ourselves there.
But just let me ask this. I know our biggest interest would be, of course, to witness the win of Amina Mohammed, but equally, a win of, say, Nigeria or anything would be a win for Africa, because it will be the first time that Africa gets this particular seat. Do you suppose, one, of course, there's going to be a split of vote based on, or maybe there's a split of interest based on the African countries, that some of them will support Amina, some of them will support Nigeria and all this, yeah? Then the question would be, is Africa its biggest enemy? Because amid this split, if they do not speak in the same voice, there are likelihoods that Africa again is going to miss out on this.
I see a high possibility of, one of them winning, either Dr. Konjo or Amina Mohammed winning this thing. And that would be a plus to Africa. My biggest fear is what you just said. If we go in this thing split, this is an international position. It is not an African position. If we are split, somebody else is going to attack it. So I think we better look at ourselves inwardly as an African continent and say, we don't want to lose this position. Now, if we don't want to lose this position, is Amina Mohammed having a better chance to kill this rat or not? And if is Dr. Konjo having a better position to kill this rat or not? And then the other guys pull back and say, let's send our own best to hold this position. And this position has never been held by a lady, and it's never been held by an African. So it's a huge position. We stand a huge position to get this position. But we have to agree as a continent, because what we are seeing here is a fight between two powerful countries, and that is Nigeria and Kenya. And let me tell you, we've fought this war, not just for now, even social media and Twitter and many other places.
The powerhouses of Africa,
if we are still going to fight this war, we might just lose it. My point is, and my advice to these two beautiful, powerful women is let them look at themselves inwardly and say, who has a better chance? Let's support that person.
We've seen a scenario where I remember at some point in time, AU endorsing Kenya for the Security Council seat, and there was that feel that Djibouti, is not African enough or African enough to just say, let's step aside and endorse Kenya and equally push Kenya. So in this case, do you foresee a scenario whereby maybe there will be a preferred candidate, or the AU will endorse a certain candidate, and at this particular point, then maybe one of them might just decide to say, okay, let me step aside and let go? And I think this has happened also on the United Nations, World Tourism, of course, aspect, where at some point in time, I remember it was in 2017, if my memory serves me right, we had two candidates for this particular position, one from Zimbabwe, another one from Seychelles. And the Seychelles candidate decided that they're not going to step down for Zimbabwe, who had been endorsed by the African Union, a majority of African countries. And because it was a global position, then again, Africa lost this one, Anita.
Absolutely. Linda, just like you've cited that example, I also remember when we were doing elections for the AU chair, we had Amina again, and we also had
Yes, Musa Muhammad Faki. Okay, well, there were Africans, most of them then, because it was the AU chair. But then again, there was so much, what I think Agwenda has brought on board, the fact that our neighbors ourselves could not support us. What would be the problem of integration? What is it that, bars us from integrating as, regions or even as Africans?
Absolutely. There has been a huge problems, even when you look at our neighbors. We... for a very long time, we have not been on a very good page, especially when it comes to trade, and others feel like they're sidelined, or there's a lot of underlying tensions even when you look at the East African community. So we definitely hope that Africa, of course, is going to, support the best candidate, and we hope that Africa can develop a mechanism of how best we can rally, for the best candidate to win. And
yes, we're crossing fingers that we win.
Yeah,
yes, all the best to Amina Mohammed.
Absolutely.
Amid everything, we just cross fingers that she's not going to lose this one for the second time. And leaving that aside, Michael Agwenda, Wiper has found a safe haven in Jubilee Party?
Correct. This is a smart way to tell Honorable Raila that politics, you might be a professor of politics, but your juniors could be much, much smarter than you.
Yeah.
Remember that the person who had a handshake first was Honorable Raila with Kenyatta. That means he severed a relationship between him and NASA.
Right.
And when he did that, what he did not know is the person he was having a handshake with was actually eyeing the very orphans that he had left behind.
Mm-hmm.
Those orphans have now been reached by the very person, on the other hand, and are now working with him, and that is Jubilee.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean to Raila, unfortunately? If anything happens at this BBI and the handshake is severed and that relationship is severed, then Raila will come back to a team of people that ordinarily will support him, and more so leaders in NASA. Mm-hmm. And by the time he will be looking on that side of NASA, they will all be gone. And he will be alone in the field. He will try to start recruiting other leaders, because those leaders will already be with the individual that they had an handshake with.
Mm-hmm. Are you trying to say that there are likelihoods that ANC will cross the bridge to this other side also?
There is no permanent enemy in politics. Mm-hmm. And I can tell you for free, if that is what it will take, they will move if they will be promised something. Mm-hmm. We've seen parties merge before. My only problem is this will be unfortunate for Honorable Raila if ANC also crosses over to Jubilee.
Yeah.
And if they cross over to Jubilee and then Raila severes his relationship for whatever reason. We're not expecting that to happen, but it's a possibility that it can happen. And if he comes back home and he finds the ANC gone, Wiper gone, he finds Chama Mashinani gone, and then Raila will be actually trying and really will be a lone ranger in amongst his peers, not just his peers, but the people that he's worked with to bring change in this country. Remember, it takes a team of people, trusted individuals, and also leaders to lead their communities, because this country is tribal.
Yeah.
And the political situation in this country is also very tribal, and every tribe seems to have their own kingpin in one or the other. We might, assume them, you might not respect them, but I can tell you they hold a lot amongst the tribal community. And so my only prayer is that this handshake will go all the way through, and that the relationship between Uhuru Kenyatta, who is Jubilee, and Raila Odinga will not be severe. But if that happens, then Raila will find it. He will have to, I'm not saying it's very difficult, but he will have to work twice as harder as before for him to claim the position of president of this country. Because the people ordinarily that has trusted on him, that worked with him, that he worked with, will not be there, because he will already be with Jubilee government.
All right. Okay. Well, that's an interesting one. So in this particular case, then one would ask, who is to laugh? Who will have the last laughs? Because for the longest of time upon the handshake, there's been questions on who exactly is going to laugh last on this one. Who's playing who? Is it Raila who's playing the president? Is it the president who's playing Raila? Is it Jubilee at large, of course, and including the deputy president now that, of course, has been proper segregation that, are playing Raila? Just who is playing who in this scenario? And who is going to be the opposition? Who's going to keep the government in check if everyone else is joining the government?
You see, that's why we have the problem, Linda. We have no opposition now. We have an opposition that has been swallowed by the government. That means they cannot defend the people. They cannot speak against the government, unfortunately. What Honorable Raila Odinga has done very well, he has put the government in check for years, years. And again, Linda, we're in a place where Raila is aging, and we have to agree with that. And these are natural phenomena that must take place. And if he's aging, then maybe Honorable Raila must be asking himself, but who is going to take over for me? Because I've done my job.
Oops, we've lost Michael Agwanda. Then we're left with no option but to come to you. Looking at the politics of the day in the country, who's playing who is going to keep the government check, honestly, if everyone else is moving towards the government? We're not saying that it's a must that we have a person who's opposing, but looking at things in the country, they're not in the best of shape. So at least there needs to be someone who's going to be a watchdog, who's going to ensure that he speaks on behalf of Wanjiku. So who is going to do that?
Absolutely. Linda, I can say there's been a lot of political awareness among people, especially the youth. And of course, there has been a heightened participation in the democratic processes. And with this awareness, this a better chance for, of course, people to
get involved and address
get involved and address the issues. And of course, this also gives a chance to us to, of course, we're better leaders than, of course, we can choose. And
all right.
And Linda, there are a lot of options. There are a lot of good people who are capable of leading this country and steering us through prosperity.
Something that maybe has been overlooked for the longest of time. And again, we go back to you, Michael Agwenda. And Anita raises this pertinent point, says that at least there's been so much involvement coming from the youth and the people of matters politics. Do you suppose that we, as the people, Wanjiku, Atieno, we are capable of putting the government in check in the event that we realize that the politicians have decided to go their way and, address their interests first?
Fortunately not, because our strong civil society has been dealt with a blow.
A blow, yeah.
The international community is no longer supporting the civil society for changes and in good governance. That is the biggest mover in the 90s and in the 80s and early 2000s. We are not having an international community that is proactively involved in changing the leadership of Africa with the people that are non-corrupt, with the people that want to make changes. Hence the reason why we are having the same clique of people, old folks, still running the show.
Yeah.
How I wish that the international community would come back again and support the civil society. And even if it's not international community, that the civil society in this country would wake up again to their slumber, and start doing what they want for this country and start championing for the change of this country. Unfortunately, what the government, in different succession have done in this country is they hit on the head of civil society so hard that the civil society no longer has a voice, unfortunately. And so the only person, and they've also reigned on the religious group also, but to a point where the religious group also has very little voice in this country. And so you are left with only the political class that is telling Kenyans what to do. The political class that indeed, stealing votes left, right, and center. An IBC that cannot officially release a result because that result is being held in France by OT Morpho. We're still having an IBC that even officiated an election that was taken to court, and the court said it was not done properly, still sitting in the office today. And as it is, if you look at Kriegler reports, basically Kriegler says do not change the IBC officials or the electoral officials 2 years to the election. You know what I mean? But they're still sitting there. And so you're hoping that there will be angels in 2022 and conduct a very fair and free election in 2022. That cannot happen. We are actually brewing animosity. We are brewing uncertainty. We are brewing political conflict in 2022 if we don't make these changes. But you ask a question: who is playing who in this card? Linda, I can only tell you that unfortunately, Kenyan politicians has been riddled with a lot of corruption and a lot of deceit. And everywhere you go in the political circle, there is deceit. And no one says the truth. They say this, but they mean something else. If the opposition think that it is their time to eat with the government, I can tell you for free that they're the ones that will be shortchanged, period.
Whoa. All right, that's an interesting view to wind up on. Thank you so much, Michael Agwenda and Anita Bai, for the great insights. So in this case, someone should watch out who is going to should change who. But as, of course, Agwenda puts it, it's clear and evident that we know who's going to be short-changed. But time will be the person or the point where, of course, we get to learn about all this. Indeed, as they would say, time will tell. And on that particular note, we wind up on this current affairs segment as we cross over to the lifestyle segment. Remember, we're all about art, It's going to be an interesting session. You do not want to miss out on this. So keep tweeting, keep sending those messages. I can see most of them coming on board in regards to politics. We sample them later on the last segment. After this break, we're right back with more. Welcome back to the broadcast. We're all about fine art. Joining me this morning, Kevin Ndingori. That's a tight one, eh?
Yeah.
Ndingori.
Yeah, Ndingori.
Yes, is an artist who joins us this morning to tell us something small about art. Just briefly, the life of art and everything. Nowadays, every other person is embracing art. Art has gotten to that other level.
Yeah.
And I don't think you can go to any household and fail to get a piece of art, even if it's just one.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. That means we're growing in leaps and bounds.
True.
That means there's so much talent out here.
Yeah.
So what's fine art anyway?
Okay, fine art. Okay, first of all, my name is Kelvin Ndingori.
Yes.
So I'm a visual artist. I do fine art. So fine art is all about paintings, there's portraits, there's pencil art, there's sculptures. But as for me, I specialize on portraits and paintings. Yeah.
All right, so in this case, what exactly do you first draw something and then you paint it, or what?
Yeah, first of all, I do a sketch, and then after it is perfect, then I can just use the paint.
Speaking of a sketch, so I am busy, or I am busy like having the current affairs segment with my guest, and guess what Kevin decides to do? He just decides to, pull a paint or a sketch of me, Let's take a look at it. Like, honestly, I was looking at this and I'm like, this is so me. Apart from kakitu kadogo tu, watu waone.
Okay.
So how cool. That was so fast, like in about how many minutes?
So this was about, I think, 20 minutes.
20 minutes trying to get me and all that. So how many minutes should I give you?
I need about an hour.
An hour?
Yeah, more.
No,
I need to rectify a lot of things.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
But I think that's so much of my nose, that's so much of my eye, that's so much of my dome, the teeth and all that.
Yeah.
Yes, the only thing that I had a problem is hapa kidogo. But because ulikuwa unaniangalia from afar, that one can be forgiven.
Yeah.
So will I be rest assured that I'll get this? This is beautiful. This is interesting.
Yeah.
What got you discovering that you can do this?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, you can place it down.
Okay. This is a talent, and I realized it at a very young age. So at primary school, I could find myself doing maybe science and social studies diagram, even for other kids. Maybe the teacher comments, these.
This is a very nice okay. So everyone brings it to you.
Yeah.
I was poor at that. I used to look around Nani as an ichorea. So it's going to come in handy.
Yeah.
All right. So at what level have you taken this? Like, have you gone to class for it? And do you suppose that this is what you want to do for the rest of time, or you'll be doing something else and this is just for fun?
Yeah. So after high school, I decided that, okay, I knew that I had this gift, but I didn't really know what I should do with it.
Yeah.
So I went to a place in Kino, known as Kino Art Gallery. I found some few artists who nurtured me into becoming an artist.
Yeah.
And maybe on how to make it a business also,
And speaking of business, how much actively are you involved in the art business, and what would you speak about it, the market out here, how much people are embracing? Because you realize that the pieces are sometimes very expensive.
True.
And then, now just getting it out there and selling the piece. Sometimes you have to sell it at a very low price. How does it feel?
Well, for now I cannot say that the market is that good. And also, I'd say it's quite a huge challenge for an artist to, how do I put this? Okay, this is not a job like any other.
Yeah.
That you expect a payslip at the end of every month. So you have to depend on what you sell. So at the end of the day, if you don't make a sale, then things are going to be tough. That's where we have a problem with marketing.
Yeah.
Because you'll find that maybe in Kenya, it is quite hard to market your artwork. We have brokers, we have people who don't yet realize how much important art is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So which one would be easier to sell? Or have you sold at some point? Have you sold pieces?
I have sold.
What's the most expensive one that you ever sold?
I guess for now, I've sold one at 8,000.
8,000. Do you think it was worth 8,000 or more?
Well, I'd say it was worth.
It was worth, yeah? All right, now, when you look at the pieces, I mean, there's so much into art, like you say, there's sketch and, drawing and paintings and all that. So, which one is likely to sell the more? You know, where you come and draw Linda and sell it to Linda, or a scenario where you just go creative, or you just get into your mind of art and figure out something?
Okay, first of all, I think the one to do with creativity would actually pay more if you're lucky to get in touch with a gallery or what would I?
A person who understands art.
Yeah, person who is good at marketing.
Yeah.
Maybe that way you can be able to get someone who's willing to pay something that is worth what you've done. Yeah.
All right, now that you tell me, just getting a sketch of me would take an hour or so.
Yeah.
That is Karis memes.
Yeah.
Just by looking at that, I was like, oh, I know him. And the memes, this guy, it's just interesting. How much would that go for?
So
you can just put it up so people are able to see, yeah?
So just the way it is, this one goes for 6,000.
For 6,000?
Yes.
All right, how much work is put into that and how much time?
So it took me around 1 week to do the whole of it.
Yeah.
Maybe a day in sketching and the rest in paintings. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so that will be straight to the point. Let's come to the creativity or the creative ones and everything. There's so much. Sometimes we look at art and we're like, this is total confusion. But when you speak to the artist, they'll tell you, oh, this is this was done because of this. This signifies this. These colors are a symbol of this and everything. Let's talk about this one in particular.
So I like playing with colors. So this, as you can see, it is a musical art.
Okay. Oh, these are guitars.
Yeah, you can see a guy playing a guitar. I think it is called a cello. Yeah, you can see the hands, you can see the heart.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It's not that I'm saying, So, I mean, Nama Heavy, I get it,
So he was inspired by music.
Okay.
This instrument, I think it is called a cello.
A cello, yeah.
So it has that, how do I put it?
It speaks to the people who play music and understand music,
and when you listen to it, I don't know what kind of feeling
it brings,
So I thought maybe I can try and make it into an art piece.
Also, in most cases, if you are into art, if you're an artist, then it means that the creativity gets, first of all, from the mind, from the heart, before it translates to the actual picture.
Yeah. So before you make an art, it has a lot to do with emotions.
Yeah.
It has a lot to do with what you are feeling inside. And by art, I'd say it is much easier to bring it out in an artwork than speaking it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just say, nyamazeni,
Yeah, true.
So how far do you want to take this?
So first of all, looking at the market, at the art market in Kenya, so I'm hoping that one day we'll get an opportunity to maybe have our own art auction centers here in Kenya. And maybe come up with a way that more artists, even the upcoming ones, will be able to benefit from it. Because looking at now, there's a lot of, few artists who are benefiting from their works. So you find that even abroad, there are many artworks taken from Kenya to go abroad, but the artist who did the work was not paid something that is worth what he did. So maybe if we can be able to come up with a plan where we can have our own art auction centers, maybe that way we can be able to give them what is worth their work.
Well, I hear of art, I hear of painting, I hear of sculpturing and all that, and I think Pablo Picasso. What do you think when you think about art and everything, or you will tell me that you think of yourself?
Yeah.
Did I just give you, okay, who do you look up to?
Okay, first of all, I'd say there's someone who mentored me.
Yeah.
His name is Nefat Art Artist. I look at his artworks, where he's come from, the way he has mentored me, and that really gives me a lot of hope to achieving more with art.
All right, what's in art, especially when you come to interior designing? What's in art when it comes to just ensuring that places look good? What's in art in terms of ensuring that you speak to the heart of someone? What is art? Because like I said, I don't think such was the case back then. Nowadays, you find that arts speak volumes. They speak to the hearts of people. What's just in art?
So just like I said, art has a lot to do with emotions. So maybe you can walk into a gallery and spot that one art and you feel as if it is talking to you. And considering the interior designs, it kind of spices up. Yeah.
Brings life to everything that you put there. You know, this is your setup.
Yeah.
This is actually a very nice home setup. If you look around and you just have that art somewhere there,
yeah,
it will be pretty much magical.
Yeah.
So looking at the country, and now that we're looking at a situation where we say, you know, you're wishing that at some point in time we'd have our own auction centers and all that. So in terms of the government, in terms of pushing for this, how much time do you guys as artists go for auditions, or I mean for displays and all that, and do you ever have talks on how to push the government towards embracing this and, you know, creating a safe space for artists?
Yeah, so that's exactly the thought that I've been having before I came up with that thought of having art auction centers. Because right now we have, I'd say we have quite a lot of galleries out here, but now it is quite hard to be able to display your artworks in there, because you'll find that they're already owned by other artists who are displaying their works already. And maybe when you look at the entry fee, maybe the fee that you have to pay for you to display your artworks, it is really not worth it, considering that you are not 100% guaranteed that your artwork is not. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's pretty much unfortunate. And there's a point I have spoken to someone who is into art.
Yeah.
And then I think theirs is a little bit special. I don't know whether it's it's the case for you. Apart from the fact that yes, you can have this picture and look at it and just you know, paint or draw something that is exactly like that.
Yeah.
There's this person who was telling me that theirs is different because every other piece is special in its own way.
Yeah.
Like you cannot get a replica of this. You can get this. You cannot get the same one as this. What is your case like? Are there times where, you know, we can get another copy of this? If someone comes and tells you, you know what, I want this, and another one, I want this, and everything, can you get the exact thing, or every other piece is special in its own way?
Okay, for this one, it is possible to get another piece. But as for me, I have my own artworks. I'd say they are a little bit of secret. I actually don't post them online.
Why?
Because of copyright.
So if someone comes and tells you that they want to sell it for, I don't know how, millions and millions of money, you'd still hold it because...
Well, it depends.
It does?
Yeah.
That much? There are some of them that you hold so dear that you don't want to let go of?
Yeah. Maybe considering
like how many?
The content that is in it. For now I have, I think, 2.
Why are they so special? Is it because they speak of you, they tell of your story, or what?
Yeah.
If I tell you today, give me that piece, I'll give you $1 million. You know how much money? How much money is an issue? How much money is important?
Yeah.
You would not.
Well, I'm a little bit confused. Actually.
Don't be confused because probably someone is watching. Probably I am just about to tell you that.
Yeah.
You would not.
Wow.
You would think so hard.
Yeah, I'd have to think so hard. Plus, considering that it's all about creativity.
Yeah.
I can be able to come up with more artworks.
So what is this one that you have made before, you've painted or you've drawn before, that speaks so much to you, that you resonate with so much, so, okay, maybe out of the 2, that probably would speak of your life in a way?
Okay, it's actually an African art, and I'd say it was inspired by, I have a few friends who've been there for me for quite some time, who believed in what I have. And I guess that's what made me do that artwork. It's so dear to me.
Yeah, all right. Speaking of belief, we find that parents will not just believe that wewe unaweza kuwa mchoraji. Like just you wake up and tell me that you're not going to do anything else but utakuwa artist. And what is the guarantee that you're going to sell your pieces? Like honestly, hapa sasa mzazi anaona yeye amekunywa maji ameenda hasara. Your family, do they support you in any way?
Well, I have to say that I'm quite lucky that they actually appreciate my work. Because actually after high school, as I said before, I didn't know what I should do with art. So there's someone who actually stood and said, this guy has a talent, and we are not going to let it go into waste.
Nice.
I'm really grateful for that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who is this person? A friend?
A brother.
Oh, a brother.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great.
Yeah.
In terms of the expenses that you have to put in
Yeah.
setting up the arts and the pieces and everything, just how expensive is it to get such a piece? That you sit down and say, okay, well, it is worth this amount of money, thousands and thousands. Time is of essence. The energy that you put into that is also important.
Yeah.
But also, just how expensive and how much, of course, would you make this more quality than probably what it is? Or are you trying to tell me it's quality enough already?
No, I'm trying to understand what your question really is.
Okay, how much expensive? Because I remember there's a time that we talk about is this a canvas or what do we call
it's
it?
a canvas.
The canvas, the paintings, how expensive they are. So how expensive would it be to set up just a simple piece as this one?
Okay,
or is
the
it
cost
the colors? Yes, the cost in terms of cost. Because you see, the paintings probably could be expensive, and this is not just one painting. So maybe when you go into the shop, you're being told you cannot just get something small. You have to get like the entire jar of blue, a different blue or shady, or there's a way that you can mix them, and still achieve what it is that you want.
Yeah, considering maybe the amount of paint that you're going to use, we can make it a little bit more better, maybe with a little bit of what do we call it? Texture. Yeah. Now that requires a little bit more of paint.
Yeah.
Quite a lot actually.
Oh yeah.
So that obviously means that the cost of it will be higher. Yeah.
All right. By the day, how do you get better? What is this different thing that you do? Because like we say, there are very many people who are out here. They're talented. They come out. They can draw. They can do all these paintings. So, what is it that you do every other time to better yourself?
Well, first of all, you need some time as an artist to connect with yourself, and maybe focus on have a goal on what you want to achieve with art.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of drives me more to becoming a better artist. Yeah.
All right. What qualifies you? Do you think that you'd stand in the presence of many and say that you are qualified, and you'd get the fine arts credits?
First of all, I have to say that I still have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
I'm not yet perfect. So I cannot really stand here and say that I am perfect at what I do, but still, I'd say that I do stand a chance.
You stand a chance. So what is this one thing that you dream of doing in terms of art or drawing, and you'll say, or maybe in terms of money, say funds, how much money would you want to make from a piece of art that would get you saying that, hapa sasa nimefika?
Well, I cannot give you an exact amount, but I'm really hoping to make quite a lot from it, and also to be able to inspire
others,
more upcoming artists. Yeah.
And speaking of which, what would be your message to family, parents out there? You say you're lucky, but truth, maybe you've come across artists that have really had to struggle.
True.
Trying to prove a point to the parents, trying to prove a point to the people that, what, I can be able to do this and make a living out of it. I mean, if not make a living out of it, but this is what speaks to my heart. This is me. Yeah.
So first of all, I have to say that before you make a decision to be an artist, you really have to connect with yourself. It is not easy. That one I can guarantee you. I've found myself in situations where I've almost given up on art, but my family has been there to push me. So
people should support each other.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there a point where umechora kitu mtu akakwambia yenyewe haitoshi mboga, and how did it feel? Even though you've had such an experience.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say that there's this one time I did a portrait.
Okay.
It is a painting. It took me a lot of time. And then the owner was like, I think bado.
Bado.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, it is not a good feeling at all. But it is a challenge to me to get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And portrait, and just taking or drawing pictures of people.
Yeah.
Is there a point where someone has paid you akakwambia nataka unichore?
Yeah.
Na ukahaka ama akakwambia kuna shida ikabidi uchange?
Not really.
Most of the time you've hacked it.
Yeah.
So in most cases you want to get a photo of someone ama mtu akae hapo sasa umchore aendange arudi umchore.
Actually, I prefer getting a photo.
Oh, you prefer
it
getting a photo?
It is much easier. Yeah.
So unakaa hapo chini unapambana.
Kabisa.
And now that you talked about the upcoming artists.
Yeah.
What much more are you doing towards this? And you know, I will tell you that sometimes one would argue that art is inborn.
Yeah.
And you probably are born an artist. But there are people who are out here, you know, who have an idea, or can draw something in our own buyer, and then they want to push themselves into the game of art.
Yeah.
Just how flexible is this, and what would be advice to such a person?
First of all, you have to believe in yourself. There's a lot of people out there who do not believe in you. There's a lot of people who are going to say, I do not see where you are going. So first of all, the first point is to believe in yourself. Secondly, I'd like to tell them to take some time, connect with yourself, and decide that this is really what you want to do in life. And also come up with ways to make yourself better. Maybe go to an art school, or find someone who can nurture you into becoming an artist. We also have YouTube nowadays. You can get some very good tutorials from there. Yeah.
All right, so where did you get this from? Ama unafikiri wewe ni wale tu ulibahatika kwa family ukaamka tu ukapata wewe unajua kuchora? Hapa kuna mtu tu anajua, because I know things to do with art. Hata handwriting is as simple as, you know, you can get a good handwriting from your dad or a terrible one from your mom, or vice versa.
Well, there was a person in my family, my uncle, who was also an artist. So maybe it is something to do with family, by the way. Yeah.
So if you would find someone who was very good at drawing or at art, and they just decide not to do anything with that, what would you tell them? If someone believed in you and they said that we cannot let this talent go just like that, and there's somebody else who's very good at that, but they still choose not to do it.
Okay.
What would you tell them?
Well, you know, eventually it is up to you to make a decision on what you want to do with it. You also have to consider the many challenges that you have to go through to be an artist. I've seen some people who give up on art maybe a few months into it.
What are some of these challenges now? What are some of these challenges?
Market is one of them. Maybe the cost of producing an artwork. Also the time it takes to be an artist. Because like for me, it took around 8 months to be nurtured to become an artist. So there are some people who give up along the way.
All right, so, and setting up an art shop, I don't know, requires so much space. Do you have a shop yourself?
Well, it is a joint shop.
Oh, it's a joint shop. Well, that's a shop. That's good enough, because then, of course, it's pretty much expensive when you talk about the markets being tough and you setting up a shop for that. Because I'm thinking, if you have such pieces like 50, 60 of them, or 10 even of them, I mean, this would mean that hata hakuna space kwa nyumba yako. Umekula space yote. So with such challenges and difficulties, what would be your advice in terms of, you know, just getting, first of all, things that you can manage? In terms of space, in terms of the difficulties, in terms of selling them out, Raka. I mean, do you first of all probably just wake up and pull random art pieces, or you just do them upon order?
Okay, there are those that we do upon orders, but you also have to work on your creativity, come up with unique pieces that are gonna be attractive. You also have to do a lot of networking, because without networking, it will be quite challenged to sell your art.
How far is it, or how easy is it for someone to network on matters art? Move around with your art, move around with your pieces, place them somewhere out there someone can see, or just how? Exhibitions?
Well, you know, nowadays we have social media.
Social media is there,
Facebook, Instagram. Well, you can also go out, maybe look for galleries where you can display your art.
Any effects from COVID-19, or not just yet felt?
A lot.
A lot?
Yeah.
Good or bad?
Bad.
Oh, yeah?
Unfortunately.
So what are you guys thinking, what are you doing yourself to ensure that, yes, by the time we're post-COVID-19, you'll be up and moving?
Well, for now, I'm focusing more on networking and also marketing so that maybe when the situation settles down, maybe I'll be able to let my artwork out more.
All right.
Yeah.
All the best, Kevin Dinguri. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
You're doing a good job.
Thank
We can only hope that indeed this is going to be expanded some more.
Yeah.
Of course, like it is. We say sometimes passion is good, but passion is even better when it pays.
True.
Yes. Okay. And that's where we're going to wind Morning Cafe's edition, of course, of Lifestyle. Thank you so much for always keeping it at TV47. My name is Linda Alela. I get to see you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Do enjoy the rest of your viewing. Bye bye.
As we take personal responsibility and adhere to all government regulations and guidelines